He'd slapped her once, 5 years ago, in front of 200 people. Now 4 pairs of eyes, his eyes, stared back at him, and he realized he'd destroyed more than a career that day. Williams Roberts' voice came out as a whisper, broken and disbelieving. "Are you telling me all 4 of them are mine?" Sharon didn't blink. Her arms crossed over her chest like armor. "After you slapped me in front of your entire staff, fired me, and let the media destroy me?" "Yes, after that." His hand reached out toward the smallest child, a little girl clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. She stepped back behind her mother's leg. "I tried to find you," Williams said. Sharon's laugh was bitter, sharp enough to cut. "Veronica made sure you never would. She deleted your emails. She forged the security report. You were her pawn, Williams, and I was her target." Williams collapsed into the leather boardroom chair, his face in his hands. "I had them alone," Sharon continued, her voice steady but laced with pain. "Delivered them early in a rundown clinic in Henderson with a retired Army nurse. I cleaned rooms and ran a design blog under a pseudonym while raising 4 babies. Do you understand what that means?" He looked up, and for the first time in 5 years, she saw something she thought she'd never see again. Remorse. Real, unfiltered remorse. "Why didn't you come to me?" Her eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. "I did. Twice. Your office guard threw my letter away. The receptionist told me to leave before I embarrassed myself." The silence between them stretched, thick with years of betrayal, loss, and a love that should have died but somehow refused to. Have you ever made a decision in anger that haunted you for years? Ever trusted the wrong person and destroyed the right one? This is a story about a man who had everything except the truth, and a woman who lost everything except her dignity. What happens when 4 tiny heartbeats reveal a lie that shattered 2 lives? Stay with me, because this story doesn't go where you think. If you've ever felt wronged, misunderstood, or wondered if redemption is real, hit that like button right now. And subscribe, because stories like this, they need to be told. But to understand how we got here, to this boardroom, to these 4 children, to this moment where everything hangs in the balance, we need to go back. Back to where it all began. Back to the day Sharon Weller walked into Venturon Global with a dream and left with a nightmare. 5 years earlier, Sharon had been unstoppable. At 28, she'd built a portfolio that made seasoned designers jealous. Luxury interior solutions with a sustainable edge. Clients loved her. Industry magazines featured her. And Venturon Global, the biggest commercial real estate developer in the Southwest, wanted her on retainer. She'd walked into that building wearing confidence like a second skin, heels clicking on marble, portfolio tucked under her arm, ready to pitch the project that would change her life. And it did, just not the way she'd imagined. Williams Robert had been in that meeting. 33, sharp, ruthless in business, but fair, or so everyone said. He'd listened to her pitch with those intense dark eyes, asked questions that showed he actually understood design, and at the end, he'd shaken her hand. "You're hired," he'd said, "but I want you on the Nevada Resort project. Full creative control. What you can do." She'd floated out of that building. 3 months later, she'd been dragged out of it. The accusation came out of nowhere. Corporate espionage, leaked designs to a competitor. Sharon had been in Williams' office presenting updated renderings when Veronica Hastings, the vice president of operations and Williams' right hand, burst in with security. She had printouts, emails allegedly from Sharon's account, timestamps showing file transfers, a whole digital trail that painted Sharon as a traitor. Sharon had tried to defend herself. "I didn't send those. I would never. This is my work. Why would I sabotage my own project?" But Veronica had been so convincing, tears in her eyes, talking about how she'd trusted Sharon, how she'd vouched for her, how betrayed she felt, and Williams had believed her. Sharon remembered his face changing, shutting down, going cold. "Get out," he'd said. She'd stepped toward him, desperate. "Williams, please, just look at the metadata. Check the IP addresses. I can prove." That's when he'd slapped her, Not hard enough to knock her down, but hard enough that the sound echoed in the glass office. Hard enough that the 3 other people in the room gasped. Hard enough that her cheek burned, and her eyes stung, and her world tilted. Hard enough that she knew, in that moment, nothing would ever be the same. Security escorted her out. Cameras flashed. Someone had tipped off the press. By that evening, her face was on every local news site. Designer accused of stealing million-dollar designs. Corporate betrayal. A cautionary tale. Her phone rang non-stop. Clients canceling contracts. Friends suddenly unavailable. Her landlord asking questions. Within 2 weeks, she'd lost everything. Her reputation, her career, her savings spent on a lawyer who told her the digital evidence was too solid, even if it was fabricated. And then she'd missed her period. At first, she'd thought it was stress. But the nausea wasn't stress. The exhaustion wasn't stress. The positive pregnancy test definitely wasn't stress. She'd sat on the bathroom floor of her tiny apartment, 3 tests, lined up on the tile, all showing 2 pink lines, and she'd laughed. Actually laughed, because of course this would happen now. She'd been with Williams once. One night, 2 weeks before everything fell apart. They'd worked late on the resort project, ordered takeout, shared a bottle of wine. The conversation had shifted from professional to personal. He'd told her about his father's impossible expectations. She'd told him about growing up in foster care, clawing her way through design school. And then they'd kissed. It had felt inevitable, like something that had been building since the day they met. They'd ended up on the sofa in his office, then later at his place, and it had been intense and unexpected and honest in a way Sharon hadn't experienced before. The next morning, he'd made her coffee and told her he wanted to take her to dinner. Somewhere public. He didn't care who saw. She'd left his penthouse feeling like maybe, just maybe, she was allowed to have something good. 2 weeks later, he slapped her, and now she was pregnant with his child. She tried to tell him. God, she'd tried. She'd written letters, showed up at Venture On, only to be turned away by security who'd been given her photo with instructions to call the cops if she trespassed. She'd sent emails that bounced back. Veronica had made sure every avenue was blocked. So Sharon did the only thing she could. She disappeared. She sold everything she owned, moved to a cheaper part of town, changed her appearance, cut her hair, dyed it darker, started going by her middle name, Janine, found work cleaning offices at night because nobody looked at the cleaning staff. Nobody asked questions. At her 12-week ultrasound, the technician had gone quiet. Too quiet. Is something wrong? Sharon had asked, her heart in her throat. The technician turned the screen. Not wrong. Just more than expected. You're having quadruplets. Sharon had stared at the 4 tiny shapes on the screen, each with a flickering heartbeat, and she'd made a decision. She was keeping them, all of them, no matter what it took. The pregnancy had been brutal. High risk didn't even begin to cover it. She'd been on bed rest by week 24. Had delivered at 32 weeks in a clinic in Henderson because she couldn't afford the hospital. A retired Army nurse named Dottie had helped her through labor. And when Sharon had heard the first cry, then the second, third, and fourth, she'd sobbed. 4 babies, 3 girls and a boy, tiny and perfect, and hers. She'd named them carefully. Liana, the firstborn, strong and steady, even as a newborn. Nyla, who'd come out screaming like she was already demanding attention. Tobias, the only boy, thoughtful even in the way he looked around. And Elias, the smallest, quiet and observant. Raising 4 infants alone should have been impossible. Some days it felt like it was. Sharon ran on 2 hours of sleep and instant coffee. She worked cleaning jobs during their nap times, brought them with her when she could, paid a neighbor to watch them when she couldn't. But she also started a design blog, anonymous, called it Weller Designs, under a pseudonym, posted ideas, renderings, thoughts on sustainable luxury. Slowly, it gained followers, then clients, small ones at first, a local boutique, a coffee shop, then bigger ones. By the time the quadruplets were 4, Sharon had built a quiet freelance career, Nothing like what she'd had before, but enough. Enough to keep them fed, clothed, housed. She'd thought about Williams every single day. Hated him, missed him, wondered if he ever thought about her, if he ever questioned what happened, if he ever regretted the slap. Probably not, she'd told herself. Men like him don't look back. She was wrong. Williams Robert had thought about Sharon Weller every single day for 5 years. At first, it had been anger, betrayal. He'd trusted her, and she'd sold him out. That's what Veronica had told him. That's what the evidence showed. But as months passed, the anger shifted into something else. Doubt. Little things didn't add up. Sharon's reaction when confronted had seemed genuinely confused. She'd asked him to check metadata, IP addresses, things a guilty person wouldn't suggest. And the competitor who allegedly received the designs never used them, never built anything resembling Sharon's work. Williams had hired a private investigator 6 months after firing her, but Sharon had vanished. No social media, no forwarding address, no trace. He told himself to let it go. Move on. Focus on venture on. But every woman he dated fell short. Every designer he hired lacked Sharon's instinct. Every late night at the office he remembered her laugh, the way Dee argued with him about aesthetics the night they'd spent together. He'd kept Veronica close because she was competent, efficient, always 2 steps ahead. But he'd never touched her again. The one time they'd been together, years before Sharon, had been a mistake born of convenience. Veronica wanted more. He didn't. He'd made that clear. He hadn't realized how much she resented that until much later. Now, at 38, Williams ran an empire, but came home to an empty penthouse, attended galas alone, signed deals that should have felt like victories, but just felt hollow. And then the photo arrived. It was a Tuesday, unremarkable, until his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. The image loaded slowly. A boy, around 4 or 5, curly dark hair, wide eyes that had an asymmetry Williams recognized because he saw it every time he looked in the mirror. A slight difference in the eyelid height, a genetic quirk his father had, that this child apparently had. The message below read, "Saw this at the Silver Sprout Learning Center your company sponsors. You might want to visit." Williams stared at the photo for 20 minutes. It wasn't possible. He was careful, always, except for one night, one woman. 5 years ago, he'd tried to find Sharon after she disappeared. Told himself it was to make sure she was all right, not because he couldn't stop thinking about her, but she'd vanished completely. Could she have been pregnant? The thought lodged in his chest like a stone. He looked up Silver Sprout Learning Center. Venturon did sponsor it, funded a new wing last year. There was an upcoming meeting, actually. A design pitch for expanding the facility. Some local designer named Janine Brooks had won the proposal bid. Williams made a call. "I want to attend the Silver Sprout pitch meeting," he told his assistant. "Sir, you don't usually attend vendor pitches. I'm attending this one." He didn't know what he was looking for. A connection, an answer, closure maybe. What he found was Sharon. Sharon had seen the Silver Sprout project posting on a city development forum. Small budget, but it was a learning center, a place for kids. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd submitted her proposal under her alias, Janine Brooks. The name on her current ID, her tax documents, her life for the past 5 years. She'd expected maybe a phone interview, a meeting with a project manager. She hadn't expected the email saying the CEO of Venturon Global would be attending personally. Her hands had shaken reading it. Williams Robert, coming to her presentation. She'd considered backing out, disappearing again. But she'd worked too hard on this proposal. And she needed the contract. The kids were getting older. They'd need new clothes, school supplies, eventually college funds. She couldn't run every time his name appeared. Besides, she looked different now. Hair darker and shorter. Glasses instead of contacts. 5 years older. Tired in a way that changed a face. He probably wouldn't even recognize her. She'd almost believed that. The presentation was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon at the learning center itself. Sharon arrived early, set up her boards and laptop. The room was a converted classroom, small and bright, with children's artwork on the walls. Her own children were in the daycare section 3 doors down. She'd gotten them in on a sliding scale scholarship. They loved it there, especially Tobias, who'd made it his mission to learn everything about everything. Sharon smoothed down her simple black blouse and slacks. Professional, invisible, safe. The door opened. A woman from the center's board entered, smiling. Then 2 more board members. And then him. Williams Robert walked into the room, and Sharon's entire body locked up. He looked older, sharper. There were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. His suit probably cost more than her rent. He carried himself with the same confidence, the same presence that used to make her pulse race. He glanced around the room, nodded at the board members, and then his eyes landed on her. She saw the moment he registered her face, the slight widening of his eyes, the way he went completely still. For 3 seconds, neither of them moved. Then Sharon turned back to her presentation materials, heart hammering, and pretended she hadn't noticed. The board chairwoman made introductions. This is Janine Brooks, our designer for the expansion project. Janine, this is Williams Robert, CEO of Venturon Global, our primary sponsor. Sharon extended her hand, meeting his eyes with a steady gaze that cost her everything. Mr. Robert, thank you for taking the time. His hand gripped hers. Warm, firm, familiar. Ms. Brooks, he said slowly, his voice carrying a weight that no one else in the room could understand. Have we met before? I don't believe so, Sharon said smoothly. I'd remember. It was a dare, a challenge. She watched him process it. Shall we begin? The chairwoman asked. Sharon pulled her hand back and walked to the front of the room. She could feel William's eyes on her as she clicked to the first slide. Her voice came out steady, professional. She walked them through the design, sustainable materials, natural lighting, spaces designed for different learning styles. She'd done her research. She knew this population. She had 4 kids in this exact age group. The board members asked questions. Sharon answered. The whole time, Williams said nothing, just watched her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. When the presentation ended, the board thanked her and said they'd be in touch. They filed out, chatting among themselves. Williams stayed. The door closed behind the last board member, and suddenly the room felt very small. Sharon started packing up her materials, moving quickly. Where the hell have you been? Williams asked, his voice low. Her hands froze on her laptop. Slowly she turned. Excuse me? He stepped closer. I know it's you. You can't fake those eyes. Or that mouth. Sharon lifted her chin, forcing herself to meet his gaze. I'm here to present my design. What you think you know about me is irrelevant. Sharon, he said, and hearing her real name in his voice cracked something in her chest. It's Janine, she corrected coldly. Bullshit. He was right in front of her now, close enough that she could smell his cologne. The same one. After 5 years, the same scent. You disappeared, he said. I looked for you. Not hard enough, she shot back. I hired an investigator. She laughed, sharp and humorless. Did you? Before or after you let the media destroy me? Before or after you decided I wasn't worth listening to? I made a mistake, Williams said, and the admission seemed to cost him. A mistake, Sharon repeated. You slapped me. In front of witnesses. You humiliated me. I know. You don't know anything. Then tell me. Sharon shook her head, grabbing her bag. I'm not doing this. I came here to work, not to rehash the worst period of my life. She headed for the door. His hand caught her wrist, gentle but firm. Please. She yanked free. Don't touch me. He stepped back immediately, hands raised. I'm sorry. I need to know. The photo I received. A boy, around 4 or 5. Is he? Sharon's blood ran cold. What photo? Williams pulled out his phone, showed her the image. It was Tobias. Her Tobias. Someone had photographed him here at the center. "Who sent you this?" she demanded. "I don't know." Unknown number. Her mind raced. Someone knew. Someone had connected the dots. This was bad. This was very bad. Before she could respond, there was a commotion in the hallway. Children's voices. Her children's voices. The door burst open. Sharon's babysitter, a teenager named Maya, looked frantic. "Ms. Brooks, I'm so sorry. The teacher got called away for an emergency and they were releasing the kids early and I didn't know you were still." She stopped, seeing Williams. Behind her, 4 small bodies pushed into the room. Liana came first, her hand protectively holding Elias's. Nyla bounced in, ponytail swinging. Tobias walked carefully, his glasses slightly crooked. They all stopped when they saw their mother wasn't alone. 4 pairs of eyes, William's eyes, turned to look at him. The room went silent. William stared at them, at their faces, at the undeniable resemblance, at the reality standing in front of him in miniature. Sharon watched him count, watched him process, watched his face go pale. Nyla, always the brave one, stepped forward. "Are you our mommy's boss?" she asked. Williams couldn't speak. He looked at Sharon, and she saw the question, the shock, the beginning of understanding. Tobias tilted his head, studying Williams with scientific precision. "You have the same eye asymmetry as me," he said matter-of-factly. "It's a genetic marker. Are you related to us?" Liana pulled Elias closer, sensing tension. Elias just stared, thumb creeping toward his mouth. Sharon moved between her children and Williams, instinct overriding everything else. "Maya, please take them to the car. I'll be right there." "But Mommy," Nyla protested. "Now," Sharon said, her voice leaving no room for argument. Maya herded the children out, though Tobias kept looking back, clearly calculating, clearly curious. When the door closed, Sharon turned to Williams. His face had transformed. Shock, awe, grief, anger, everything at once. "How old are they?" His voice cracked. "You don't get to ask me questions," Sharon said. "How old, Sharon?" "They're 4.5. Do the math." He did. She watched him do it, watched him realize the timeline matched, watched him understand. "All 4? He whispered. "Quadruplets," Sharon said. "High-risk pregnancy, premature delivery. I almost died bringing them into the world, alone. Why didn't you?" "I tried," she cut him off. "I told you. I tried to reach you. Your people threw me out. Veronica made sure I couldn't get near you." "Veronica," he repeated, something dark crossing his face. "She framed me. And you believed her." "So no, Williams, you don't get to ask why. You know why. I want to see them," he said. "No, they're my children." "They're mine," Sharon corrected. "I carried them, birthed them, raised them. You're a stranger. I'm their father. Biology doesn't make you a father." "Then let me be one," he said, desperate. "Please, let me meet them properly. Let me." "They don't need you," Sharon said, but her voice wavered. "Maybe not," William said quietly. "But I need them, and I think, maybe, you needed me. 5 years ago, and I failed you." The truth of it hung between them. "One dinner," William said. "You and the kids. Tomorrow night. My place. Let me try, Sharon. Just let me try." She wanted to say no, wanted to protect her children from the man who'd hurt her, but she saw their faces in her mind. Nyla asking every week if they had a daddy. Tobias researching genetics and family trees. Liana trying to be strong for everyone. Elias, so quiet, wondering why they were different from other families. "One dinner," she said finally, "with conditions. Name them. You don't get to confuse them. You don't get to walk in and out of their lives. If you start this, you commit. Fully. Or you walk away now." "I'm not walking away," William said. "We'll see," Sharon replied. She gave him her phone number, the real one, this time. Then she left, her hands shaking as she gripped her car keys. In the parking lot, 4 little faces pressed against the car windows, watching her. "Is he our daddy?" Nyla asked the moment Sharon got in. Sharon looked at her daughter in the rearview mirror. Yes, she said. He is. Why haven't we met him before? Liana asked carefully. Because, Sharon started, then stopped. How did you explain betrayal and abandonment and survival to 4-year-olds? Because grown-up things are complicated, she said finally. But you're going to meet him properly tomorrow. Is he nice? Elias whispered. Sharon thought about the slap. The humiliation. The 5 years of silence. Then she thought about the look on William's face when he saw the children. The brokenness. The longing. I don't know, baby, she said honestly. But we're going to find out. That night, after putting the quadruplets to bed in their shared bedroom, in their tiny apartment, Sharon sat on the balcony with a glass of wine she didn't drink. Her phone buzzed. A text from Williams. An address. Tomorrow at 6. And then, thank you. She didn't respond. Instead, she looked up at the desert sky, at the stars scattered like broken glass, and wondered what the hell she was doing. Inside, Tobias called out. Mommy? She went to his bedside. He shared a bunk with Elias. The girls had the other bunk across the room. Yes, sweetheart. Is our daddy rich? Tobias asked. Why do you ask? His suit was expensive. Armani, probably. And his watch was a Patek Philippe. Sharon couldn't help but smile. Her little genius. Yes, she said. He's rich. Are we going to be rich too? No, Sharon said. We're going to be us, okay? Tobias considered this. Okay, but maybe he can get me the telescope I wanted. Tobias, just a thought, he said innocently. Sharon kissed his forehead. Across the room, Liana was still awake, watching. Mama, she said quietly. Are you scared? Sharon crossed to her daughter, smoothed back her hair. A little, she admitted. Me too, Liana whispered. We'll be brave together, Sharon said. Deal? Deal. When all 4 were finally asleep, Sharon stood in the doorway, watching them, her whole world in one small room. 4 heartbeats that had kept her going when she had nothing else. Williams Robert wanted in, wanted to be their father, wanted to make up for lost time. Sharon didn't know if that was possible, but for them, for her children, she'd try, even if it meant facing the man who'd shattered her, even if it meant risking her heart all over again. The next evening, Sharon dressed her children in their best clothes, which wasn't saying much. Liana in a sundress with a small stain on the hem, Nyla in leggings and a shirt with a glittery unicorn, Tobias in khakis and a button-up, looking like a tiny professor, Elias in jeans and his favorite dinosaur shirt. They piled into Sharon's beat-up Honda, and she drove to the address Williams had sent. When they pulled up, Nyla's eyes went huge. Mommy, is that a castle? It's a house, sweetheart, but it was massive, gated, in the hills overlooking the city, security at the entrance who checked her name and waved them through. Sharon's hands gripped the steering wheel. This was William's world. Money, power, everything she'd once touched the edges of before being cast out. The front door opened before she even parked. William stood there, and Sharon's breath caught. He'd dressed down. Jeans, a simple shirt, barefoot, like he was trying to seem approachable. The kids tumbled out of the car. Williams walked toward them slowly, like approaching wild animals. Hi, he said, crouching down to their level. I'm Williams. It's really nice to meet you all. I'm Nyla, Nyla announced. That's Liana. That's Tobias. That's Elias. He doesn't talk much, but he's really smart. It's nice to meet you, Nyla, and all of you. Tobias stepped closer, examining Williams's face. Do you have any genetic disorders I should know about? He asked seriously. Williams blinked. Not that I'm aware of. Good. We have a family history of stubbornness, but that's more behavioral than genetic. Sharon bit back a smile. Liana hung back, protective. Elias hid behind her. Williams looked up at Sharon, helpless and endearing in a way she hadn't expected. Come inside, he said. Please. The house was beautiful. Open, modern, clearly professionally decorated, and utterly devoid of personality. Nyla immediately started touching everything. "Can I go in the pool?" "After dinner, maybe," Williams said, looking to Sharon for confirmation. "We'll see," Sharon said. "Is that a real painting?" Tobias asked, pointing to what was definitely a real and very expensive piece of art. "It is." Interesting use of negative space. Williams looked at Sharon. "He's 4, she said, half apologizing, half proud. Dinner was pizza. Williams had ordered 6 different kinds, unsure what kids liked. They sat at a table that could seat 20, 4 children and 2 adults, and it should have been awkward. But Nyla filled every silence with chatter. Tobias asked Williams about architecture, business, the stock market. Liana slowly warmed up, and Elias eventually came out from behind his siblings to stare at Williams with open curiosity. "Do you like dinosaurs?" Williams asked him. Elias nodded. "Me too. I had a collection when I was your age." Elias's eyes widened. "Really?" Williams smiled. "Want to see?" He led them to a room that was clearly an office and opened a cabinet. Inside, preserved and carefully displayed, were dozens of dinosaur figures. Elias's face lit up like Christmas. Sharon watched from the doorway as Williams sat on the floor with her son talking about T-Rexes and Triceratops, and something in her chest cracked open. Later, after the kids had explored the pool, the game room, the home theater, they crashed in the massive living room. Nyla fell asleep on the couch. Tobias curled up in an armchair with a book he'd found. Liana leaned against Sharon. Elias sat near Williams, not quite touching but close. "They're amazing," Williams said quietly. "They are," Sharon agreed. "They have your strength," he said, "your intelligence. They have your eyes, your stubbornness." He smiled. "I missed this, all of this, and I didn't even know it existed." "I know," Sharon said. Elias yawned. Williams hesitated, then carefully picked him up. The boy didn't wake, just nestled into Williams's shoulder. Sharon watched Williams carry her son to the couch, lay him down gently, cover him with a throw blanket. When he turned, there were tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for all of it. I'm so goddamn sorry, Sharon." She stood. "Sorry doesn't fix 5 years." "I know, but it's a start." They stood in the dim light of the living room, surrounded by their sleeping children, and the anger Sharon had carried for so long felt heavy, exhausting. "I should hate you," she said. "You should," he agreed, "but I'm tired of hating you. I'm just tired." "Then rest," Williams said softly. "Stay tonight, all of you. There's plenty of room." Williams, no expectations. I don't want this to end. Not yet." Sharon looked at her children. Peaceful, safe, happy. "One night," she said. "Thank you." He showed her to a guest suite. Massive bed, attached bathroom, a view of the city lights. "The kids can sleep in here with you, or there's a room next door with bunk beds." "They'll want to be with me," Sharon said. Williams helped carry the sleeping children, tucked them into the enormous bed. They looked so small in it. When he left, Sharon changed into a shirt Williams had given her, then slipped under the covers with her babies. But sleep didn't come. An hour later, she found herself on the balcony, attached to the suite. She didn't hear Williams approach. He stepped out onto the adjoining balcony, separated from hers by just a few feet. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked. "Too much to process." He held up 2 glasses. "I poured wine, but if you want to throw it in my face, I understand." Sharon cracked a smile despite herself. "Pass it here." He reached across the gap. Their fingers brushed as she took the glass. They stood in silence, sipping wine, looking at the stars. "I thought about you every damn day," Williams said finally. "I watched your name get shredded in the press, and I was too stupid to question it. You were the one woman who never chased my money, just my mind." Sharon's breath caught. "I was your first," he continued, his voice low. Her pulse quickened. "You were more than that," she said. "You were the last person I let touch me." The admission hung between them. Williams set down his glass. "Sharon, don't," she said, but there was no force behind it. He stepped closer to the railing between their balconies. "Tell me you didn't feel it tonight." Watching them, being together. Tell me, this doesn't feel like what should have been. What should have been doesn't matter, Sharon said. Only what is. Then what is this? He asked. She met his eyes. I don't know. He climbed over the railing between them, graceless but determined. When he landed on her balcony, he was inches away. Tell me to leave and I will, he said. Sharon's heart pounded. Williams, say it. She couldn't. His hand came up slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he cupped her cheek. His thumb brushed across her lips. I dreamed of this, he whispered. But I never imagined the way you'd look now. Stronger, more beautiful. A mother. Mine. I'm not yours, she breathed. Aren't you? And then his lips were on hers. The kiss was soft at first, testing, asking permission. Sharon's hands fisted in his shirt, and she pulled him closer. The kiss deepened. Years of anger and longing and pain and desire poured into it. His hands slid into her hair. Hers wrapped around his neck. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Williams pressed his forehead to hers. Come inside, he said. Please. Sharon knew she should say no. Knew this was complicated and messy and potentially devastating, but she was so tired of being strong alone. Show me where. He led her through the connecting door between the balconies, into his bedroom. Massive, masculine, windows overlooking the entire city. He turned to face her, and the vulnerability in his expression undid her. We don't have to, he started. She kissed him. Hard, definitive. Shut up, Williams. He smiled against her mouth. Yes, ma'am. This time there was no hesitation. His hands found the hem of her borrowed shirt, pulled it over her head. Her hands worked the buttons of his shirt, impatient. When they fell onto his bed, skin against skin, it felt like coming home and falling apart all at once. He touched her like she was precious, like he was memorizing every inch. When he moved inside her, she gasped his name, nails digging into his shoulders. This is healing, she whispered. This is us fixing what broke. I love you, he said. I never stopped. Sharon's eyes filled with tears. Then prove it. Every day. Prove it. I will. Afterward, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, his fingers trailing patterns on her back. The kids, she said suddenly, are asleep in the next room. If they wake up, we'll handle it, Williams said. Together. Together, Sharon repeated, testing the word. If you'll have me. She lifted her head, looked at him. You hurt me. I know. You destroyed my life. I know, and I might never fully forgive you. I know, he said, but I'll spend the rest of my life earning it anyway. Sharon studied his face, saw the truth there. Okay, she whispered. Okay, okay. He pulled her closer, kissed her forehead. For the first time in 5 years, Sharon fell asleep feeling safe. But reality was waiting, and Veronica Hastings was not done. 2 days later, Williams called an emergency meeting with his legal team and head of security. Sharon sat beside him in the conference room at Ventron, her evidence file spread across the table. Walk me through it again, Williams said to his security chief. The man pulled up files on the screen. The original accusation against Ms. Weller was based on email logs and file transfers from her company account. But when we did a deep forensic audit as you requested, we found something interesting. What? The IP addresses don't match. The emails allegedly sent by Ms. Weller came from a different location, and the timestamps were altered in the original report. Where did they come from? Sharon asked, though she already knew. The security chief hesitated, glancing at Williams. From an executive terminal, belonging to Veronica Hastings. The room went silent. Williams's jaw clenched. What else? Financial irregularities. Miss Hastings has been routing payments to shell companies for 3 years. We're talking close to $2 million. Holy shit, Williams breathed. His lawyer leaned forward. This is enough for criminal charges. Fraud. Embezzlement. If we include the framing of Ms. Weller, we could add more. I want her arrested, Williams said flatly. Williams, the lawyer started. If we go public with this, I don't care, Williams cut him off. She destroyed Sharon. She kept me, From my children. I want her to face consequences. Sharon reached over, touched his hand. Do it legally, she said quietly. I don't want her to have any way out. Williams nodded. Do it right, but do it now. Veronica was called into Williams's office an hour later. She entered with her usual confidence, tablet in hand, heels clicking. You wanted to see me? Williams stood behind his desk. Sharon sat in a chair to the side. Veronica's eyes flickered to her, narrowed. What is she doing here? Sit down, Veronica, Williams said coldly. I'd rather stand. Down. The tone left no room for argument. Veronica sat, her composure slipping slightly. I know what you did, Williams said. I don't know what. The emails. The fabricated evidence. The money you've been stealing. All of it. Veronica's face paled. That's ridiculous. You can't possibly. We have proof, Sharon said calmly. IP addresses. Financial records. Everything. Veronica's eyes darted between them. This is a setup. She's manipulating you again, Williams. Just like before. No, Williams said. You manipulated me. For years. I protected you, Veronica hissed. From her. From people who would use you. You framed an innocent woman, Williams said, his voice rising. You cost me 5 years with my children. Children? Veronica's laugh was sharp. Oh God, she really convinced you those brats are yours? Sharon stood, fists clenched. Watch your mouth. You're pathetic, Veronica spat, standing as well. Both of you. Williams, I've been by your side for a decade. I've built this company with you, and you're throwing it away for some washed-up designer and her bastards. Williams walked around the desk, his face cold. Security is outside. You're going to be escorted from this building, and then you're going to be arrested. Veronica's face twisted. You can't do this to me. Watch me. The door opened. 2 security guards entered. Veronica looked at Williams with pure venom. You'll regret this. I'll destroy you. I'll go to the press. I'll tell them everything. Go ahead, Williams said. Because I'm going first. As security took her arms, Veronica lunged toward Sharon. This is your fault. You ruined everything. The guards pulled her back. Her shouting echoed down the hallway as they led her away. When the door closed, silence filled the office. Sharon sat down heavily. It's over, Williams said. Is it? Sharon asked. She's not going to go quietly. Let her fight, Williams said. We have the truth. He pulled Sharon to her feet, wrapped his arms around her. I've got you, he murmured. This time, I've got you. And for the first time, Sharon believed him. The press conference was scheduled for the following Monday. Williams stood at the podium, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. Sharon waited backstage with the kids, her heart in her throat. Williams raised a hand for silence. 5 years ago, I made a mistake that cost someone I cared about everything. I fired a talented designer named Sharon Weller, based on fabricated evidence. I publicly humiliated her. I failed to give her the benefit of the doubt. And then I failed to find her when I realized I'd been wrong. The room erupted in murmurs. Williams continued. The evidence against Ms. Weller was falsified by someone I trusted. Someone in my company who I've since discovered was embezzling funds and manipulating situations for personal gain. That person has been terminated and is facing criminal charges. More camera flashes. But this isn't about her. This is about Sharon, and about taking responsibility for my actions. He gestured to the side of the stage. Sharon, please. Sharon's pulse hammered. This wasn't part of the plan, but she walked out anyway. The crowd's noise intensified. She stood beside Williams, chin high. Sharon Weller is one of the most talented designers I've ever worked with, Williams said. She's also the mother of my 4 children. Children I didn't know existed because I drove her away so completely that she felt she had to hide. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sharon stepped to the microphone. Her voice was steady. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here because I earned my place. 5 years ago, I was destroyed by lies. But I survived. I raised 4 incredible children. I continued my career under a different name, and today I'm standing here as the new design director for Venturon's Family Innovation Initiative. She paused. I'm also standing here to say that forgiveness is complicated, that redemption is possible, and that the truth, no matter how long it takes, will surface. She looked at Williams. This man hurt me, but he's also the father of my children, and he's spending every day proving he's worthy of a second chance. Then she did something no one expected. She kissed him, right there, in front of every camera, every reporter, every judgment and opinion. When she pulled back, Williams was smiling. The questions came fast and furious, but Williams waved them off. That's all for now. Thank you. He took Sharon's hand, and they walked off stage together. The kids were waiting in the green room. Did you kiss him on TV? Nyla asked, delighted. I did, Sharon said. Gross, Tobias muttered, but he was smiling. Williams crouched down. What do you guys think about all of this? He asked. Liana looked at him seriously. Are you going to stay? She asked. Or are you going to leave when it gets hard? Williams met her eyes, this tiny, fierce protector. I'm staying, he said. I promise. Liana considered this, then nodded. Okay, you can be our dad then. Elias stepped forward, held up his arms. Williams picked him up, and the boy wrapped around him like he'd been doing it his whole life. Sharon watched, her heart full and breaking and healing all at once. This was her family, broken and rebuilt, messy and imperfect. But theirs. If you're feeling this right now, if this story is touching something in you, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me what lesson hit you hardest. Was it about truth? About redemption? About second chances? I want to hear from you. And subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips, because every story here is crafted to remind you that no matter how dark it gets, dawn is coming. Now let's continue. 3 months passed. 3 months of learning to be a family. Of Williams figuring out bedtime routines and school drop-offs. Of Sharon adjusting to working at Venturon again, this time in a position of actual power. Of 4 children learning that having a father meant someone else to read bedtime stories, to fix broken toys, to chase away nightmares. It wasn't perfect. Williams still worked too much sometimes. Sharon still had moments of doubt, of fear that he'd revert to the man who'd slapped her. But they were trying. One evening, Williams came home early. The kids were at a play date. Sharon was in the kitchen, reviewing design plans. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. Come with me, he said. Where? You'll see. He drove her to a property on the outskirts of the city, acres of desert, land with a view of the mountains. What is this? Sharon asked. Williams pulled out blueprints. Our home. If you want it. Sharon took the papers. It was beautiful. Sustainable design, open spaces, a wing for the kids with individual rooms and a shared play area, an office for her, one for him, and 4 trees, he said, pointing to the landscaping plans. One for each of them. So they have roots. Sharon's eyes filled with tears. You designed this? With your notes from 5 years ago, the Nevada Resort Project. I kept them. She looked up at him. This is too much. It's not enough, Williams said, but it's a start. She kissed him there, in the desert dirt, with the sun setting behind them. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. That night, back at Williams' place, after the kids were asleep, they made love slowly, taking their time. Afterward, Sharon traced patterns on his chest. I'm scared, she admitted. Of what? That this is too good, that it'll fall apart. Williams caught her hand, kissed her palm. Then, we'll put it back together. Again and again, for as long as it takes. Promise? Promise. She curled into him, and for the first time in 5 years, the fear quieted. The new house was completed 6 months later. Moving day was chaos. 4 excited children, boxes everywhere, Williams trying to direct movers while Nyla used the empty rooms as an echo chamber. But when the last box was unpacked and the kids were asleep in their new rooms, Sharon stood in the backyard. 4 trees had been planted that afternoon, Small now, but they'd grow. Liana had named hers Hope. Nyla called hers Sparkle. Tobias wrote a full essay about his tree's ecological impact. Elias drew a face on his with chalk. Williams came up behind Sharon, wrapped a blanket around them both. They deserve roots, she said. We're giving them more than roots, Williams murmured. We're giving them everything. She turned in his arms. I love you, she said. I fought it, but I love you. I love you, he said. I never stopped. They stood there, under the desert stars, and it felt like the end of something painful and the beginning of something whole. Inside, Elias called out. Sharon started to go, but Williams stopped her. I've got him, he said. She watched through the window as Williams went to their son, scooped him up, rocked him back to sleep. Her heart was so full, it hurt. This was what she'd survived for, what they'd both fought their way back to, a family, imperfect and hard-won, but theirs, and that was worth everything. 2 years later, life had found its rhythm, but rhythms can be disrupted, and sometimes disruption comes from the places you least expect. Sharon was in her office at Venture On when her assistant knocked. Ms. Weller, there's someone here to see you. She says she's family. Sharon looked up from her designs. Family? I don't have any family. The woman stepped into the doorway before the assistant could respond. She was older, maybe 60, with graying hair and eyes that looked hauntingly familiar. Sharon's eyes. Hello, Sharon, the woman said. My name is Margaret Weller. I'm your mother. The room tilted. Sharon gripped the edge of her desk. My mother left me at a fire station when I was 3 days old. I know, Margaret said quietly, and I've regretted it every day since. Sharon's assistant looked between them, confused. It's fine, Sharon managed. Close the door, please. When they were alone, Sharon stood. You need to leave. I understand, Margaret said, but I'm dying. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. And before I go, I needed to tell you I'm sorry, and that leaving you wasn't because you weren't wanted. It was because I was 17, homeless, and terrified. I thought I was giving you a better chance. Sharon's hands shook. A better chance? I spent my childhood in 9 different foster homes. I aged out of the system at 18 with nothing, no one. And you survived, Margaret said, tears streaming down her face. You built a life. I've been following you for years. I saw what happened with Venture On. I saw you disappear. I wanted to help, but I had no right. And then I saw the press conference 2 years ago, saw you with your children. Sharon, you became everything I hoped you'd be. That doesn't give you the right to show up now, Sharon said, her voice breaking. I know, but I'm asking anyway. Not for me, for them, your children. I have medical history they should know, genetic information, and I have something else. She pulled out an envelope. Your father's name, where he is. He never knew about you either. Sharon stared at the envelope like it was a bomb. I can't do this right now. I'll leave my information with your assistant, Margaret said. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here, for as long as I have. She set a card on Sharon's desk and walked to the door. Then she paused. You're an extraordinary mother, Sharon. I can see it in how your children look at you. I wish I'd been brave enough to be that for you. Then she was gone. Sharon sat down heavily, picked up her phone and called Williams. He answered immediately. Hey, I was just thinking about you. My mother just walked into my office, Sharon said. Your mother, the one who abandoned me as an infant. She's dying, and she wants to talk. Where are you? My office. Stay there. I'm coming to you. 15 minutes later, Williams walked into her office and pulled her into his arms. She didn't cry. She just stood there, trying to process. What do you want to do? He asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to throw that card away and never think about her again, but part of me wants answers. Then we get answers, Williams said. Together. What if I let her in and she hurts me again? Then I'll be there to catch you, he said. Like you were there for me. Sharon pulled back, looked at him. How did I get so lucky the second time around? We both got lucky, Williams said. Now come on, let's go home. Talk to the kids. Figure this out as a family. As a family. 2 years ago, those words would have been impossible. Now, they were everything. That night, after the children were in bed, Sharon sat with Williams on their bedroom balcony. She'd opened the envelope. Inside was a name, David Chen, and an address in San Francisco. He's a engineer, Sharon said, reading the short letter Margaret had included. Never married. She never told him she was pregnant. Just disappeared. Are you going to contact him? Williams asked. Should I? That's not for me to decide. Sharon set the letter down. The kids have been asking more questions lately. About my side of the family. About where I came from. Tobias especially. He wants to do one of those ancestry DNA tests. So let him, Williams said. What if they want to meet her? My mother? Then we let them. With boundaries. Your boundaries. Sharon looked at him. You've gotten very wise. I've had a good teacher, he said, pulling her close. She rested her head on his shoulder. I'm scared. I know. But you've survived scarier things. She had, and she'd do it again. The next day, Sharon called the number on Margaret's card. They met at a neutral location, a park. Margaret brought photo albums. This is your grandmother, Margaret said, pointing to a black and white photo. She raised me after my parents died. She did her best, but we were poor. When she got sick, I was 15. When she died, I was alone. She turned pages. This was me at 16. I met a boy. Your father. He was kind, smart. We were careful, but not careful enough. When I found out I was pregnant, I panicked. He'd just gotten a scholarship to college. I didn't want to ruin his life. So you gave me up, Sharon said. I left you somewhere safe. With a note, I wrote that I loved you, that I hoped you'd have the life I couldn't give you. I never saw a note, Sharon said quietly. Margaret's face crumpled. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They sat in silence. Then Sharon asked the question she'd carried her whole life. Did you ever think about me? Every single day, Margaret said. Every birthday, every Christmas, every milestone I imagined you having. You were never forgotten, Sharon. You were loved from a distance because I didn't know how to love you up close. It was the most honest thing anyone had ever said to her. I have children, Sharon said. 4 of them, and I can't imagine ever leaving them, no matter how hard things got. You're stronger than I was, Margaret said simply. No, Sharon said. I just had different choices. Margaret pulled out another envelope. Medical records. Family history. Everything your doctors might need to know. Sharon took it. Thank you. Can I? Margaret hesitated. Can I see them? Your children? Just once? Sharon thought about it. Let me talk to them first. And to Williams. This is a lot. I understand. But Margaret, Sharon said, if you get to meet them, you need to understand something. You're not their grandmother. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You're a stranger who shares DNA. They have a life, a family, a routine, and I won't let anyone disrupt that. I wouldn't expect anything else, Margaret said. They parted ways, and Sharon drove home with more questions than answers. Williams was in the kitchen when she got back, helping Tobias with a science project while Nyla painted at the table, Elias played with blocks, and Liana read on the couch. This was her family. How'd it go? Williams asked. It was hard, Sharon said, but necessary. That night, she and William sat the children down. You know how you've been asking about my family? Sharon said. About where I came from? 4 heads nodded. Well, my birth mother found me. Her name is Margaret, and she'd like to meet you, but only if you want to. Is she nice? Nyla asked. I don't know her well enough to say, Sharon answered honestly, but she seems like she's trying. Why did she leave you? Liana asked, always protective. She was very young and very scared. She thought she was doing the right thing. But it hurt you, Liana said. Yes, Sharon admitted. It did. Do we have to meet her? Elias asked quietly. No, baby. This is your choice. I want to meet her, Tobias said immediately. For genetic and medical history purposes. Of course you do, William said, ruffling his hair. I want to meet her too, Nyla said. Maybe she's like a fairy godmother. She's not a fairy godmother, Liana said. But, okay, I'll meet her. Elias looked uncertain. Can Daddy come too? He asked. William smiled. Absolutely. Then, okay, Elias said. Sharon looked at her family, her heart full. We do this together, she said. And if anyone feels uncomfortable, we stop. Deal? Deal, 4 voices chorused. The meeting was arranged for the following weekend at their home. Sharon wanted the kids on familiar territory. Margaret arrived with gifts, books for each child, carefully chosen, science encyclopedias for Tobias, art supplies for Nyla, novels for Liana, a dinosaur puzzle for Elias. You researched them, Sharon said, surprised. I wanted to do it right, Margaret said. The children were shy at first, but Nyla, as always, warmed up quickly. Did you really leave Mommy at a fire station? She asked bluntly. Williams choked on his coffee. Sharon hid a smile. Margaret knelt down to Nyla's level. I did, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I thought it was best for her. Were you wrong? Nyla asked. Yes, Margaret said. I was wrong. It's okay, Nyla said. Grown-ups make mistakes. Daddy slapped Mommy once and now they're married. Williams covered his face. Sharon laughed despite herself. That's true, Margaret said gently. People make mistakes. The important thing is trying to fix them. Tobias stepped forward. Do you have any genetic diseases I should know about? Margaret smiled. I brought my medical records for your mother. You can review them. Excellent, Tobias said, satisfied. Liana hung back, watching. Margaret noticed. You don't trust me, she said to Liana. That's smart. You're protecting your mom. Liana blinked, surprised to be seen so clearly. Someone has to, she said. She's lucky to have you, Margaret said. Over the next hour, something shifted. The kids asked questions. Margaret answered honestly. She told stories about Sharon's father, about her own childhood, about the choices she made. When it was time for her to leave, Nyla hugged her. Tobias shook her hand formally. Elias waved. Liana gave a small nod. Can you come back? Nyla asked. If your mother says it's okay, Margaret said, looking at Sharon. Sharon hesitated, then nodded. Okay. After Margaret left, Williams put his arm around Sharon. You did good. It's weird, Sharon said. I spent my whole life angry at her. And now, I just feel sad. For both of us. For the time we lost. Maybe that's healing, Williams said. Maybe, Sharon agreed. Over the next months, Margaret became a small but steady presence. Sunday dinners once a month. Phone calls with the kids. She taught Nyla to knit. Talked science with Tobias. Brought books for Liana. Sat quietly with Elias and his dinosaurs. She never overstepped. Never tried to replace anyone. Just existed on the edges, grateful for whatever space she was given. And slowly, Sharon found forgiveness. Not the kind that erased the past, but the kind that made peace with it. One evening, Margaret pulled Sharon aside. I don't have much time left, maybe a few months, and I wanted to say thank you for letting me know my grandchildren, for giving me this gift. Sharon's eyes filled. I'm glad you found me, she said. It doesn't fix everything, but it helps. Margaret hugged her, and Sharon let herself be held by her mother for the first time in her life. When Margaret passed 3 months later, the children cried, not devastated, but sad. They'd lost someone who'd just started to matter. At the funeral, Sharon spoke. Margaret made a choice when she was 17 she regretted for the rest of her life, but she also made a choice 2 years ago to face that regret, to ask for forgiveness, to try. And that second choice, that bravery, gave my children a grandmother and gave me a piece of my history. I'm grateful for both, Williams held her hand as they left the cemetery. That night, lying in bed, Sharon said, "I want to find him." "My father." Williams turned to look at her. "David Chen?" "Yes." "Then we'll find him." It took 2 weeks. Williams hired an investigator. David Chen was located in San Francisco, working as a senior engineer at a tech company. Divorced, no children. Williams made the initial contact through a lawyer, explaining the situation carefully. The response came within days. David wanted to meet. They flew to San Francisco on a weekend. Just Sharon and Williams. The kids stayed with Williams' parents, who'd become doting grandparents over the past 2 years. David Chen met them at a cafe in the Mission District. He looked like Tobias would in 30 years. Same eyes, same careful way of moving. "Sharon," he said, standing. His voice shook. "I don't even know what to say." "Hi, Works," Sharon said. They sat. It was awkward at first. "Margaret never told me," David said. "If I'd known, I would have. I don't know what I would have done, but I wouldn't have let you go through that alone." "She was trying to protect you," Sharon said. "Your future." "I became an engineer," David said. "Built a decent career. Got married, got divorced, no kids. And now I find out I have a daughter and 4 grandchildren." "Grandchildren might be premature," Sharon said gently. "Let's start with coffee." David laughed, a sound that was half sob. Fair enough. They talked for 3 hours. About Margaret, about Sharon's life, about the quadruplets, about Williams and the complicated path that led them here. "I'd like to meet them," David said. "Your children, if that's okay." Sharon looked at Williams, who nodded. "We take it slow," Sharon said. "No pressure, no expectations." "I understand," David said. And over the next year, slowly, David became part of their lives. He visited Vegas every other month. Video called with the kids, bonded with Tobias over engineering, taught all 4 of them chess. One evening, Tobias looked up from a chess game with David. "Can I call you Grandpa?" he asked. David's eyes filled with tears. "I'd be honored." And just like that, Sharon's family expanded again. But life, as always, had more lessons to teach. Liana came home from school one day, quiet. Sharon noticed immediately. "What's wrong, baby?" Liana was 9 now, growing up too fast. "A girl at school said our family is weird, that it's wrong that you and Daddy weren't married when you had us, that we're—" She hesitated. "Bastards." Sharon's blood boiled. Williams, overhearing, looked equally furious, but Sharon forced herself to stay calm. "Come here," she said. Liana sat beside her. The other 3 kids gathered around, sensing something important. "Our family is different," Sharon said. "That's true, but different doesn't mean wrong. You 4 are the result of love, even when that love was complicated. Even when things fell apart, you were always wanted." Williams sat down too. "Some people won't understand our story," he said. "They'll judge without knowing the whole truth. But what matters is what we know, that we fought for each other, that we chose each other every day." "What do I say when people say mean things?" Liana asked. "You say our family is built on truth and second chances," Sharon said. "And that makes it stronger than most." Nyla, now 9 and fiercely loyal, piped up. "And if they keep being mean, I'll tell them off." "Or," William said, trying not to smile, "you could just walk away knowing you're loved." "That too," Nyla conceded. That night, Sharon and Williams lay awake. "They're going to face this their whole lives," Sharon said. "Questions, judgment. Then we make sure they're strong enough to handle it," Williams said. "We give them the truth, the tools, and the love. The rest is up to the world to figure out." "When did you become so wise?" Sharon asked. "When I almost lost everything," Williams said. "Then got a second chance to get it right." She kissed him, soft and slow. "I love our life," she whispered. "Even the hard parts, especially the hard parts, because they made us this." The years continued. The children grew. Tobias became more serious, his intelligence sharpening. Nyla remained the spark plug, joining every club, making every friend. Liana grew into her role as protector and mediator. Elias found his voice through art, painting and drawing constantly. Williams scaled back at Venture On, promoting people he trusted and spending more time at home. Sharon's design firm, which she'd started on the side, took off. She hired a team, took on bigger projects, built something entirely her own. They bought the land next to their property and built a community center, free after-school programs, art classes, STEM workshops, a place for kids who needed somewhere safe to go. They called it the Second Chance Center. At the opening, Sharon stood at the podium. "This center exists because I know what it's like to be counted out, to be told you're not worth the investment, to have doors slammed in your face. But I also know what it's like when one person believes in you, when you're given a second chance. This place is for every kid who needs someone to believe in them. Who needs a second chance? Or a third? Or a 10th? The applause was thunderous. Williams watched from the side, pride radiating from him. Their relationship had deepened into something unshakable. They still fought sometimes, about work, about the kids, about whose turn it was to handle the school bake sale. But they'd learned to fight fair, to apologize, to choose each other even when it was hard. On their 5th anniversary of the press conference, Williams planned something special. He took Sharon back to the learning center, where it all came back together. The room was decorated simply, candles, photos of their journey. The kids waiting inside with David, Williams' parents, and a few close friends. "What is this?" Sharon asked. Williams got down on one knee. "5 years ago, I found you again in this room, found out I was a father, started the journey to becoming the man you and our kids deserved. We've been living as a family, building a life, but I want to make it official." He pulled out a ring. "Sharon Weller, will you marry me? Not because we have to, not because of the kids, but because I choose you. Every day. The rest of my life." Tears streamed down Sharon's face. "Yes," she said. "Yes, absolutely yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her as their children cheered. The wedding was small, intimate, in their backyard under the 4 trees that had grown tall and strong. Liana was maid of honor. Tobias, Elias, and Nyla were all part of the ceremony. David walked Sharon down the aisle. Williams's best friend from college stood as best man. When Sharon reached the altar, Williams took her hands. The officiant asked if they'd prepared vows. Sharon went first. "Williams, you were my biggest mistake and my greatest love. You hurt me and then spent years proving you were worth forgiving. You gave me 4 incredible children and then showed up to be their father. You could have stayed away, could have sent money and called it done, but you chose the hard path, the real path. And that's why I'm choosing you, today and always." William's voice was thick with emotion when he spoke. "Sharon, I slapped you once, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But you slapped me back with grace, strength, and truth. You survived what I did to you and came back stronger. You raised our children alone and then let me in anyway. You taught me what real love looks like. Not perfect, not easy, but worth fighting for. I promise to fight for us, for this family, every single day." They exchanged rings. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and when they kissed, their children rushed forward, wrapping around them in a group hug that was chaotic and perfect. This was family, not the picture-perfect kind, but the real kind, built from broken pieces and second chances. The reception was a backyard party, dancing, laughter, stories shared. At one point, Williams found Sharon alone for a moment. "Happy?" he asked. "Incredibly," she said. He spun her onto the makeshift dance floor. As they swayed, Sharon looked around, at her father dancing awkwardly with Nyla, at Tobias explaining quantum physics to a very confused caterer, at Elias and Liana making flower crowns, at all the people who'd become their family. "This is everything," she whispered. "This is just the beginning," Williams said. That night, After the guests left and the kids were asleep, Sharon and William stood in their bedroom. "Mrs. Robert," William said, testing it out. "I'm keeping Weller professionally," Sharon said. "But I like the sound of that." He pulled her close. "I love you. I love you too." They made love slowly, savoring every touch, every moment. This wasn't about passion, though that was there. It was about partnership, commitment, the choice to keep choosing each other. Afterward, lying tangled together, William said, "I want more." "More?" Sharon laughed. "4 kids isn't enough? Not more kids. Though I wouldn't say no. I mean more of this, more life together, more memories, more everything." "Then let's take it," Sharon said. "Every bit we can get." But even in happiness, challenges came. Tobias at 12 started asking harder questions about the past. "Dad," he said one evening, "why did you really slap Mom?" Williams looked at Sharon, who nodded. They'd always been honest with the kids, age appropriately, but honest. "I was angry," Williams said, "and I believed a lie about your mother. I let my anger control me instead of seeking the truth, and I hurt someone I cared about." "But you loved her," Tobias said. "I did, which made it worse." "Do you ever get that angry now?" Tobias asked. "Sometimes," Williams admitted. "But I've learned to walk away, to breathe, to talk, instead of react. Your mother taught me that." Tobias absorbed this. "I get angry sometimes too," he said quietly, "at kids who say stuff about our family, and I want to hit them." Sharon leaned forward. "Anger is normal," she said, "but actions are choices. You get to choose how you respond." "What if I choose wrong?" Tobias asked. "Then you apologize and do better next time," Williams said. "Like I did." Tobias nodded slowly. "Okay." These conversations happened more as the kids grew, about forgiveness, about mistakes, about the complexity of human relationships. Sharon and Williams never pretended to be perfect. They showed their children that growth was ongoing, that healing took time, that love was a choice, not just a feeling. Nyla, at 13, came home with a boyfriend. Williams nearly had a heart attack. "She's 13, he hissed to Sharon. "And she's smart," Sharon said calmly. "We raised her to make good choices." "I'm going to talk to him," Williams said. "You're going to be calm," Sharon countered. The boyfriend, a sweet kid named Marcus, nearly fainted when Williams sat him down. But Williams surprised everyone. "My wife gave me a second chance when I didn't deserve it," he told Marcus. "So I believe in second chances. But Nyla is precious. You treat her with respect, honesty, and kindness. Those are non-negotiable." "Yes, sir," Marcus squeaked. "Good talk," Williams said, clapping him on the shoulder. Later, Nyla hugged her dad. "Thanks for not being scary," she said. "Oh, I was scary," Williams said. "I just hid it well." Sharon watched them, smiling. This man who'd once been so controlled by anger had learned gentleness, patience. People really could change. Elias, at 14, came out as gay. He told Sharon first, nervous and quiet. "Mom, I think I like boys." Sharon pulled him into a hug. "Thank you for trusting me with that." "You're not mad, baby? I'm proud of you for knowing yourself." When they told Williams, he was quiet for a moment. Elias's face fell. Then Williams said, "So when you start dating, same rules as Nyla. Respect, honesty, kindness, and I still get to intimidate them." Elias laughed, relieved. "Deal." Later, Williams admitted to Sharon, "I'm worried. The world isn't always kind." "Then we make sure he's strong enough to face it," Sharon said. "And we love him loudly enough that he never doubts his worth." They did exactly that. Liana, at 15, struggled with anxiety, the pressure of being the oldest, the protector, the responsible one. She had a breakdown one night, sobbing in her room. Sharon held her while William sat nearby. "I'm tired of being strong," Liana cried. "I'm tired of taking care of everyone." "Then don't," Sharon said gently. "Let us take care of you for a while." "But you need me," Liana said. "We need you healthy and happy," Williams said. "Not burning yourself out." They got Liana into therapy. helped her set boundaries, showed her that asking for help wasn't weakness, and slowly, she learned to let others carry some of the weight. Through it all, Sharon and Williams held the center. They had date nights, weekend getaways, moments stolen between carpools and work meetings. They fought about money, about parenting styles, about whose family to spend holidays with. But they always came back to each other, always chose repair over resentment. On their 10th wedding anniversary, they renewed their vows. The kids were older now. Tobias 17, the girls 16, Elias 15. This time, each child spoke. Tobias said, "You taught me that intelligence without empathy is useless, that being smart means nothing if you're not kind." Nyla said, "You taught me that being loud and confident is good, but listening is better. That taking up space is my right, but making space for others is my responsibility." Liana said, "You taught me that strength includes vulnerability, that protecting others starts with protecting myself." Elias said, "You taught me that being myself is enough, that love doesn't have conditions." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Sharon and Williams stood together, hands clasped, overwhelmed by what they'd built. Not a perfect family, but a real one. That night, Sharon found the old photo, the one from the press conference 10 years ago. Her and Williams, newly reunited, facing the cameras. They looked so uncertain then, so broken. She compared it to a recent family photo. All 6 of them, laughing, tangled together. The difference was stark. Williams came up behind her. "Look at us," he said. "Look at what we built," Sharon corrected. He kissed her temple. "Best decision I ever made was not giving up. Best decision I ever made was letting you try," Sharon said. As their children prepared for college, for life beyond the nest, Sharon and Williams prepared too. For the next chapter, just the 2 of them again. It should have been scary. Instead, it felt like possibility. One evening, they sat on their balcony, the same place they'd first reconnected years ago. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Sharon asked. "All the time," Williams said. "If I'd believed you from the start, if I'd never slapped you, if we'd raised them together from the beginning." "Do you regret how it happened?" Williams considered. "I regret the pain, but I don't regret the journey. It made us who we are." Sharon leaned into him. "Me too." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Elias, passing by, poked his head out. "You 2 are disgustingly in love," he said. "We are," Williams agreed, pulling Sharon closer. "Good," Elias said. "Keep it up." When he left, Sharon laughed. "Our kids are well-adjusted nightmares. The best kind," Williams said. "The moral of this story isn't that love conquers all. It's more nuanced than that. It's that truth has power, that accountability matters, that forgiveness is possible but not guaranteed. It must be earned." Sharon didn't owe Williams anything. Not her time, not her body, not her heart, and certainly not access to their children. But she made a choice, not because he deserved it, but because she deserved peace, because her children deserved a father who would show up. And Williams made a choice too, not to buy his way back in, but to do the work, to face his failures, to become someone worth trusting again. This is a story about second chances, yes, but it's also about first choices. Sharon's choice to survive, to protect her children, to build a life from nothing. Williams' choice to question his assumptions, to investigate the truth, to humble himself. Veronica's choice to deceive and destroy, which led to her downfall. Margaret's choice to find her daughter before it was too late. Every character in this story faced moments where they could go one way or another, and those choices, those small daily decisions, built the life they ended up living. If you're watching this and you've been wronged, know this: your survival is not about them. It's about you. Sharon could have let bitterness consume her. Instead, she channeled it into building. If you're watching this and you've done wrong, know this: redemption is a long road. Williams didn't get forgiven because he said sorry. He got forgiven because he changed his life, proved his worth, and gave Sharon the space to heal on her terms. And if you're watching this and you're somewhere in between, know this. Life is messy. Families are complicated. Love is both the easiest and hardest thing you'll ever do. But it's worth it. Every hard conversation, every moment of vulnerability, every choice to stay when leaving would be easier. Sharon and Williams built something beautiful from something broken, not because they were special, but because they refused to give up on themselves, on each other, on the possibility that broken things can be made whole again. Your story might not look like theirs. Your journey might be different, but the principles remain. Truth over lies, accountability over excuses, healing over bitterness, growth over stagnation, love over fear. Take those principles and build your own second chance, or third, or 10th, however many it takes, because dawn always comes. You just have to survive the night. 3 years later, Tobias graduated top of his class and headed to MIT. Nyla got into Juilliard for theater. Liana chose psychology, wanting to help others navigate their mental health. Elias got a full scholarship to art school. The house felt empty. Sharon and Williams stood in the quiet, looking at each other. "So," Williams said. "What now?" Sharon smiled. "Now we remember who we were before we were parents." "And who's that?" "Two people who couldn't stop thinking about each other." He pulled her close. "I can work with that." They traveled. Places they'd always talked about but never had time for. Paris, Tokyo, New Zealand. They took cooking classes and failed spectacularly. Took dancing lessons and succeeded surprisingly. Spent mornings in bed reading, evenings on the balcony talking. They fell in love all over again. Different this time. Quieter. Deeper. When the kids came home for holidays, the house filled with noise and chaos and love. And when they left again, Sharon and Williams filled the space with each other. One evening, getting ready for bed, Sharon caught Williams staring at her. "What?" she asked. "Just thinking about how close I came to missing all this," he said. "But you didn't," Sharon said. "But I almost did. If you hadn't been at that learning center, if you'd chosen a different name, if—" "But I was," Sharon interrupted. "And you were, and we're here. Stop living in the almost and live in the is." Williams crossed to her, cupped her face. "How did I get so lucky?" "You didn't get lucky," Sharon said. "You worked for it. Every day. That's why you get to keep it." He kissed her, soft and reverent. "I'm never stopping," he promised. "Good," she whispered against his lips. "Neither am I." They made love like they had all the time in the world. Because they did. No kids to interrupt. No early morning wake-ups. Just them. Afterward, Sharon traced patterns on William's chest. "Do you think they'll be okay?" "The kids? They'll be better than okay," William said. "We gave them roots and wings. The rest is up to them." "When did you become so zen?" "When I stopped trying to control everything and started trusting the process." Sharon laughed. "Who are you, and what did you do with Williams Robert?" "He's still here," Williams said. "Just better. Because of you." She kissed his shoulder. "We're pretty great together," she said. "We really are," he agreed. Years later, when the grandchildren came, Sharon and Williams were ready. They spoiled them relentlessly, taught them about second chances and first choices, about truth and accountability and love. Tobias brought his daughter to visit. She had Sharon's eyes. Nyla brought her twins, a boy and a girl. They had William's mischief. Liana brought her son, adopted, loved fiercely. Elias brought his husband and their foster children, giving others the chance they'd been given. The family expanded, the love multiplied, and through it all, at the center, were Sharon and Williams, still choosing each other, still growing, still proving that broken things, when mended with intention and care, become stronger than they ever were before. On their 30th wedding anniversary, surrounded by children and grandchildren and friends, Sharon stood to make a toast. 30 years ago, this man found me when I was hiding, found his children when he didn't know they existed, and found himself in the process. People ask me how I forgave him, how we made this work, and the answer is simple. We chose it. Every day, even the hard days, especially the hard days, we chose truth over comfort, growth over stagnation, love over fear. And we chose each other, not because it was easy, but because it was worth it. She raised her glass. To second chances, to first choices, to broken things made beautiful, to family, however it's built, and to love that refuses to quit. The room erupted in cheers. Williams pulled her close, kissed her in front of everyone, and whispered, "Best choice I ever made." "Best choice we ever made," Sharon corrected, because that's what it was. Not his story or her story, but their story, built together from fragments and failures and fierce, stubborn, beautiful love. And that night, when everyone had gone home and the house was quiet again, Sharon and Williams stood under the 4 trees in their backyard. The trees had grown massive, strong, rooted deep, just like their family. "Remember when these were saplings?" Sharon asked. "Remember when we were broken?" Williams countered. She leaned into him. "Look at us now. Look at what we built," he said. And as the desert wind whispered through the leaves, as the stars scattered across the sky like promises, they stood together. 2 people who'd lost everything and found it again, who'd broken and healed, who'd chosen love when hate would have been easier. This was their legacy, not perfection, but persistence. Not a fairy tale, but a real tale. The kind that says no matter how dark it gets, if you hold on, if you choose truth, if you do the work, dawn will come, and it will be beautiful. If this story moved you, if you see yourself in Sharon's strength or Williams's redemption, if you believe that second chances matter and truth wins, I need you to do something. Hit that like button right now. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's been wronged, someone who's done wrong, someone who's trying to rebuild. Drop a comment below. Tell me what hit you hardest. Was it Sharon's resilience, William's accountability, the children's grace, the power of forgiveness? I want to hear your story, your second chance, your moment of truth. And subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips, because every story here is designed to remind you that you're not alone, that your pain has purpose, that your struggle can transform into strength, that broken doesn't mean finished. It just means ready to be rebuilt into something stronger. Remember Sharon's words, "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." That's power. That's freedom. That's the lesson. Your healing is not about them. It's about you, and you deserve it. So take it. Claim it. Build it. One choice at a time. One day at a time. Until the broken pieces become a mosaic. Until the pain becomes purpose. Until the night becomes dawn. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. Thank you for believing that love, real love, is worth fighting for. Now go out there and build your own second chance. I'll be here, telling more stories, reminding you that hope is real. Until next time, this is Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips. Keep choosing love. Keep choosing truth. Keep choosing you.